many mobile phones before it has gone from being the thing to, well, kind of irrelevance. And even the once mighty iPhone has been hobbled by competition from the likes of Samsung. So today we're asking, is the smartphone becoming just another commodity? And what will be the next gadget phenomenon to replace that? For answers, we are joined by a panel of tech experts. We have Christina Warren, she's senior tech editor at Mashable. We have Jonathan Geller, editor of the Boy Genius blog. And we have Bloomberg West Coast editor at large, Corey Johnson. Christina, I'm starting here with you. What went so wrong at Blackberry?
What didn't go wrong, I think, is the better question. They were very, very late to move to their new platform, Blackberry 10. It was delayed a really long time, and they allowed Android and iPhone to come into the enterprise and eat at their core market. And they also allowed Android to come in and eat at these emerging markets, which is where they also had historical strength.
You know, emerging market, that's interesting. I was just in an emerging market in Brazil, and I got a funny anecdote to share with all of you. One of our reporters down there was mugged recently near the beach in Ipanema. And the mugger came along and said, you know, give me your money. And he took his money. And then he said, give me your phone. And the reporter took his BlackBerry out. And the mugger took a look at it and said, you know, actually, no thanks. He was looking for an iPhone. He didn't want the BlackBerry. So, I mean, if that doesn't say something, I don't know what does. Is there any hope for BlackBerry here, Jonathan?
There's absolutely zero, no, not a chance.
Wow.
Not happening. This company is so overdone, it's not even funny. They offer absolutely nothing. They have no innovative software. They have no hardware. They have no services. They have no subscription anymore. It is completely played out.
But they have an easier keyboard.
They do. I will give you that. It is, and especially if you're used to it.
I mean,
right?
yeah, if you're used to it. But I mean, think about it. This was the go-to. You had to have.
100%.
What happened?
They absolutely lost sight of what was happening in the mobile market, and that was all these little Blackberries weren't just going to be email devices anymore. The next revolution was the phone becoming a computer, and Blackberry is not a computer company. This is so evident over the last 5, 6 years. They just cannot do this. Absolutely no how, no way.
So this begs the question, and Corey, I'll bring you in here. I mean, it begs the question, is the phone just, you know, another commodity? And does Apple need to be more careful? Does it need to watch out? Because it's seeing some serious competition from the likes of Samsung and others.
I'm trying to imagine what Antonio Carlos Jobim would have done with the girl from Ipanema without the BlackBerry. You know? Tall and tan and dark and lovely, but no Blackberries, please.
No, he wanted that iPhone.
You can trade a lot of commodities in Brazil, apparently not Blackberries. You know, I think in your intro you said something interesting where you said every office worker, virtually every office worker had a BlackBerry. You know, that was not technically accurate. I think the fundamental change here is that when the price of the devices really came down, it wasn't corporations leading the buying, and it wasn't chief information officers or chief technology officers of companies saying, this is what you shall use. It was consumers saying, I want this or I want that. And that bring your own device trend really changed the way corporations are buying, where they're being led by the consumer and the consumer experience. That means many disparate places for innovation. It means that Samsung can try a larger phone that the iPhone didn't have. The iPhone can try an all-touch screen that the BlackBerry didn't have. And the innovation is going to come from lots of different places. Consumers will demand more things at the workplace, and the CIOs and the CTOs will follow them. And you can see that throughout technology. You can see Microsoft Windows trying to appeal to the consumer because they know the consumer is going to demand things in the workplace.
Yeah, no, it's a more organic experience certainly nowadays. But Christina, as we look ahead and we try and figure out what's the next big device to take over the marketplace, maybe it's not even a phone.
No, I think it's going to be stuff that interacts with your phone. You know, the phone is a given. We all have our smartphones. It's going to become an essential part of all of our lives. But if you look at wearables, you look at things like Google Glass, you look at things like smartwatches, you look at even stuff like connected cars, where can your phone go so that it can talk to other devices in your life and prevent relevant information when you need it?
Boy Genius, you are Jonathan Geller, a.k.a. Boy Genius on Twitter.
Are you talking to me, Adam? Or? Oh, I thought you were.
No, you're the other genius here at the table, but no,
Old
honestly,
man genius.
Jonathan Geller, your Twitter handle, Boy Genius, you are the guy who was sort of everything Apple. How does the iPhone make that jump that Christina's talking about, where it makes that wearable transition?
Well, not just Apple. I actually started my site based on all my BlackBerry leaks. That was my major thing.
Right.
But I mean, look, I don't think this impacts Apple at all as far as what they're doing. They're obviously kind of plugged into what's happening. They're the ones that are dictating actually what we're going to want in the future. I think they have some great things coming up, and I think that, you know...
But what's taking them so long?
But
I mean, we all
to
keep
do what?
waiting.
To do what?
Well, where is this next great thing that we've got to have? I mean, it feels like
they only introduced the iPhone 6 years ago. I mean, it's not been that long if you think about it. They can't go into every industry and kind of reinvent it every 2 years. You know, it's only been 3 years since they came out with the iPad.
But I mean, you got to admit, the new product cycle now is a lot slower than it's been in the past.
You're right. We haven't seen a lot of products. We finally did a WWDC, but we will in the fall. We'll see new iPhones, iPads, iPods. They'll start to really
yeah, like this is the reason why Laszlo Barini the other day said, you actually were like off on vacation somewhere, but Laszlo Barini was there. How dare you? And he said he's not buying Apple, right? He owns it, and he wouldn't sell it at this level, but he's not buying. He wouldn't get in at this level because he's worried about exactly that. He doesn't think that they're keeping up with new products as quickly as they need to be doing. I mean, this is, people are hungry for stuff, are they not? I mean, you work in the social, you work in a social media news environment, so you see this regularly. People want the new next best thing.
They do, but they also want it to work correctly, and I think that's an area that Apple has a big advantage, is that when they release a product, it has a whole ecosystem around it, and it just works, versus some other companies that might come out with a great product, but what else is out there to support it, and how well does it work? I mean, Google Glass is a really great concept, but it's expensive, and I'm not really convinced there's a killer app just yet. But I do think that the wearables are certainly the future, and in Apple, I have no doubt they'll be involved.
Is it a watch?
Probably a watch to start with.
Well, yeah, and if I could jump in there too. I mean, one of the things we know about Apple, we know from some of the studies, and we know from the way they're selling stuff, is that their consumers want to stay with their stuff. And the studies say that the people who use the iPhone are less likely to switch than people who are using other smartphones, and as well as, in particular, people using Android phones and people in particular using Samsung phones. The Apple, I don't know if it's the universe around the products, if it's the iPad and iPhone experience, but the users of that product have tended to stay with that product, and it's not as slippery a hold on the customer as other products, what we know from the studies that have been done about this.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. It's an interesting discussion. Thank you so much, Jonathan, Christina, and Corey. Coming up next, we're going to hear from real estate heavyweight Bruce Ratner. He's going to tell us what he thinks about the New York City real